Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to PV Talks, where a community comes to connect, converse, and more importantly, grow together. I am Steve Bracety, your host, and with me in the studio booth is Mr. Lance Leighnor from Leighnor Aircraft. Welcome, Lance.
Thank you, Steve. I'm very happy to be here and talk to you guys about Leighnor Aircraft.
So are things still taking off at Leighnor Aircraft?
They sure are. We've got a lot of activity going on out at the airport. I think anybody in the community knows that our local airport is a very, very busy flight training hub. And there's a lot of little airplanes with student pilots up there. We're a part of that. We have a partnership with Yavapai College to provide aircraft for their aeronautical sciences program. So we have a lot of Yavapai kids flying with us. And more importantly, many of those are veterans.
Oh, great.
That is one thing that the Yavapai College program serves very well is our veteran community. And that's very important to us at Leighnor Aircraft, as I have a lot of vets in my family tree and even my oldest daughter.
Well, share with us from start to finish. If someone were to walk in today looking to get a pilot's license, what is that process and how long does it take? And assuming they're an average student like myself.
Okay, that's the question we honestly get the most of. How long and how much?
Oh, how much too?
For the average student, if you're walking in the door with no aviation experience, you've got the itch to become a pilot, you've never flown a plane, you haven't grown up around aircraft, typically to go from 0 to your private pilot's license, it's going to be around 2 months. That varies a little bit, of course, depending on weather sometimes. Our weather here can be occasionally weird, but for the most part, it's beautiful flying. And right now, we are having a wonderful stretch of flying weather. You couldn't ask for better. So a couple of months to do it. For the average student, you're looking at an investment of approximately $16,000, give or take. And of course, every student is different. We're not like one of the big schools where you're in a class with a group of other students and you're progressing kind of with the class. With us, it's all one-on-one training. So you progress at your rate. We tailor the training to you.
So I could take a 2-month sabbatical from work, find $16,000 somewhere, and get my pilot's license.
Very likely.
Wow.
If you and I would stress to the audience that if you're going to do this, you need to treat it seriously, like any other job, any other career education. Because if you don't, you're going to waste your time and, more importantly, your money.
Well, and also, once you're up in the air, something goes wrong. It's just you, my friend.
That's right. That is the big difference between driving a car and flying an aircraft. In that car, as I am very wont to say, you can pull over to the side of the road and sort stuff out. Up in the airplane, you don't have that road. So you have to have a higher level of awareness, higher level of training, and a higher level of, I would say, professionalism, even for a general aviation pilot flying recreationally. Mm-hmm. You have to treat it professionally. Otherwise, it can turn around and bite you.
Now, let me ask this question. Is there a limited age limit to get your pilot's license? Or can people, is it later in life as a hobby or a second career path?
That's a very good question, Steve. The only age limitations are on youth. We recommend, if you're like a high school student listening to this, that you start training no earlier than perhaps 15 and a half, 15 and 3/4. You can solo at age 16. You can test for your pilot's license at age 17. So it kind of depends upon how committed you are. If you're going to spend that 2 months and be very focused, For a young man or woman, I would recommend 16, 16 and a half getting started. As far as age restrictions on the upper end of the spectrum, there really aren't any as long as you can pass a medical. For airline pilots, there is a limit. You are hard limited to age 65 under current federal aviation regulations.
And that's flying for the big airline companies.
That is correct. That does not rule out flying for charter, flying for air cargo, banner towing, crop dusting, any one of the myriad career possibilities that exist in aviation. It all depends on you and your health outside of the airlines.
So let me ask this question. Do you just train and teach flight programs, or are there other parts to the mechanics of aviation that you also teach as well?
That's a very good question. We have a full maintenance shop, and one of the things that we have been doing is we have been taking a limited number of apprentices and training them up as aviation maintenance technicians, which quite honestly, we hear about the pilot shortage in the news.
Yes.
All the time. There's a pilot shortage, and it was particularly worse coming out of COVID. It's gotten a little better now, but we heard about the pilot shortage all the time. What we did not hear about in the news is the aviation maintenance technician shortage, our air traffic controller shortage, our inspectors working at the FAA. All of those careers are wide open right now, and it's an opportunity for any young man or woman interested in aviation. We don't have a lot of apprentices, going back to the original question. We take one or two at a time, and it's about a 30-month process, and you're working in our shop as an apprentice, learning by doing. You're literally maintaining the aircraft that exists in our aircraft fleet.
You know, I'm curious, because to me, that is a great career choice, being an airline pilot. Why is there such a shortage of pilots these days?
The shortage of airline pilots, there's a lot of factors. First of all, we can blame COVID. And if we go back to the COVID era, there were a lot of pilots that were getting close to aging out, getting close to that age 65 barrier, where it's a hard stop. No matter how healthy you are, you're done. You can no longer fly for a major airline. A lot of the pilots were aging, and flight training was ramping up to replace them. Then COVID happened. And as we all know, airline travel of any nature, pretty much cratered. Mm-hmm. Pilots were let go, furloughed, laid off. Many of those pilots decided that they were either going to retire or go find something else to do. Then COVID was over, and airlines tried to rehire pilots. Many of them did not want to come back. So that really exasperated the shortage. The other thing that exasperated the shortage is many flight schools shut down during that year and a half of COVID. We were fortunate here in Prescott in Arizona. We were actually quite busy during the COVID years, obviously like everybody else, until we figured out what was going on or not going on with COVID, as the case may be. We had restricted operations, restricted training, and things like that. But we quickly got back to normal training operations. Many other schools did not, particularly in other parts of the country that had, shall we say, local and state governments that were far, far, far more restrictive than Arizona or any local government out here was. So training stopped. And to train a pilot to get to the airlines, it is about a 2-year process.
Is it really? Yeah.
18 months to 2 years. 18 months is doing it, or even I've heard some programs advertise 12 months, but that is brutal, almost military level type of training. For most normal programs, it's at least a couple of years. For programs like our local college, Embry-Riddle, that's a 5-year program to get through and get your degree and get your aeronautical sciences, I believe that's their degree major, and be ready to move on to the airlines. So we couldn't just flip a switch. That's what led to the demand, and it's also led to the demand in all other areas in aviation. With reduced air travel, less controllers were needed, so some retired and there was no backfill. Same thing with the government. As you know, much of the federal government shut down and went to remote work only,
Right.
and they're still recovering from that today.
Now, I know there's a dire need for air traffic controllers. You hear it in the news all the time. And that's a very stressful job from what I understand.
It is. I have actually visited air traffic control towers and air traffic control centers, and those people literally have everybody in the sky's lives in their hands. It is high stress, and you're managing multiple aircraft at the same time. And unfortunately, you're on the front seat if there are any kind of incidents or accidents. Yep. I mean, that horrible midair at Reagan in D.C. comes to mind.
Yep.
The controllers saw that coming but couldn't avert it.
Right. Yes. I remember watching the movie Sully about the Hudson River water landing, they called it, and that air traffic controller really went through the fire for that.
Oh, yeah. Everybody went through the fire for that one in terms of how it went. I will say that was about as well executed an emergency landing as it could be. And if you saw the movie Sully, one of the things that movie brought out that it's important when they were trying to reenact the incident in the simulators to determine, did they have enough time to divert to an airport or did they not? The big difference there was that everybody in those sims knew that both engines were gone,
right,
and that you were a glider.
Right. It's almost like playing Monday morning quarterback. You're not in the heat in the arena, so to speak.
Yes,
and that is the human element for sure.
Well, and in any kind of emergency situation in any size aircraft, be it a small one or a large one, pilots are trained to go through a checklist of some kind. If you have an engine out, there's a procedure for determining the cause of the engine out, attempting restart, because the last thing you really want to do is become a glider, because then you have no control of where you're going. It's
just you and wind then after that.
You're going down, and it's just a matter of where. And the big thing that I think came out of the whole Sully movie is that they went through their checklist remarkably quick, realized that I am a glider and I'm going down, and made the best possible choice they had available to them after executing that checklist. The pilots in the sims had the benefit of knowing, hey, don't even bother, just make the turn to the airport right now.
Right. What impressed me the most with that, and I know it's a movie, but I'm sure it happens in real life too, the discipline, the focus, and the sense of calm they had in this crisis situation. They worked the problem rather than becoming the problem themselves. And I was always impressed by that.
That is called aeronautical decision-making and actually discipline. And that is one of the most important things in becoming a pilot, be it a small plane or be it a large plane.
Right.
And it's one of the things that we stress in teaching is good aeronautical decision-making, because you're quite right, Steve. If you panic or don't follow procedures, don't continue to fly the airplane, you're going to make your problem 1,000 times worse, particularly in an aircraft. And it's that professionalism and the training that takes over when bad things happen. I've personally have been in a couple of bad things in an aircraft, and I'm here to talk about it because of that training.
Yep, good for you. Share with us, how did you get the flying bug? Was like that aha moment, or did you just grow up in it?
I was doomed from childhood.
Oh, boy.
My father, we lived back in the Midwest, and my father was very active in the Experimental Aircraft Association at the time. And I grew up in an aircraft home builder family from the time I was about 3 years old. And I was the kid in the family that got interested in airplanes at a very young age. In fact, I've got a picture in my baby book. I think I'm 2.5, sitting in the cockpit of my dad's home-built airplane, basically moving the control stick and making airplane noises. I was doomed from that point. I grew up helping my dad maintain the airplane, always wanted to be a pilot. And finally, when I went away to college, I was able to learn to fly. It wasn't through any kind of college program. It was a flying club that was affiliated with the college and the local flight school, much like we are. Mm-hmm. In fact, I tried to model Leighnor Aircraft after the experience I had in learning to fly. Nice. Because it was a fun, enjoyable experience, and that's what we want to do when we're teaching people to fly.
Speaking about Leighnor Aircraft, how long have you folks been in business now?
We have been in business since 2017. The company was formed in February of 2017. We did our first commercial rental flight on July 20th, 2017, and we've grown in some cases exponentially from then. Just earlier this year, we actually got a Part 135 air carrier certificate, which allows us to do charter flights. For those of you listening who don't want to brave the 17 to go to Sky Harbor, it's about a 25-minute flight from Prescott. We can take you directly to the airport and you can avoid the 17 entirely. Or like literally yesterday, we picked up a gentleman at Henderson outside of Las Vegas and took him to Lake Havasu.
Oh, nice.
So we can do that, or even fun things like date night in Sedona.
Well, let's expand upon that. The services that you provide at your company.
Well, first and foremost, we're a flight school. Mm-hmm. We operate under Part 61 of the Federal Aviation Regulations. And what Part 61 is it governs the requirements for all classes and categories of pilots, their certificates and ratings. We are not what you call a Part 141 school, which is what Embry-Riddle is locally. That is a structured program that has a very specific syllabus, which has its pros and cons. Don't want to get into that on this podcast, but there are both pros and cons to that style of learning. We tailor our learning to each individual student, and it's one-on-one instruction. It's not a class. It's not a block of people.
It's more hands-on per se.
Well, I would say it's more individualized. Okay. We're not as I call them, pilot mill, and I'm not saying that's Riddle. I'm thinking of the bigger schools that are like down in the valley, the ATPs of the world and things like that, where they're just trying to cram pilots through as quick as they possibly can. 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. That's, in my mind, that's not a fun way to learn to fly. The other services we offer, for those of you in the audience that are private pilots or pilots of any flavor, we rent aircraft. If you want to fly, want to go down to Payson for breakfast and pick up a pie, want to go fly through the Grand Canyon or go see Sedona at sunset, we can rent you an aircraft to do that. And lastly, we are an aircraft charter company. And that is a Part 135 air carrier certificate. It allows us to offer basically flights for pay. So if you want to go somewhere, we can take you. If you want to go sightseeing, and we have several packages. For example, you could do a Sedona air tour, or we call it the Sedona date night, where we stop for a couple of hours over at Sedona, and you and a partner get to have dinner at the Mesa Grill. We're not buying dinner, that's on you, but we'll sit there and wait for you to have an enjoyable dinner in a totally beautiful surrounding. Or go through the Grand Canyon. I've personally made that flight several times myself. And the Grand Canyon from the air in a small aircraft,
it's got to be spectacular.
It's spectacular.
Oh my gosh.
It's stunning. Or even Sedona, or just flying over to Lake Havasu. You get to fly right over Baghdad, with where one of the biggest copper mines in the country is. It's an awful big hole in the ground, and it's quite interesting to see from the air.
How deep it really is.
It is deep.
So share with us, if there's someone out there listening to this podcast, watching this podcast, how would they contact you and your company to purchase a service or a training program?
We have a lot of information on our website. That is www.Leighnor Aircraft, and that is spelled Leighnor aircraft.com. There's a lot of information there. You can purchase discovery flights. You can inquire about charter. You can inquire, submit forms to enroll in flight training, all on the website. But if you want to come in and just check us out and walk in the door, we're open 8 to 6, 7 days a week. We're off on a few holidays. We'll be closed around Christmas and New Year's a little bit, but we're there almost every day, and we'd be more than happy to show you around. Or drop us an email at flying@LeighnorAircraft.com, or give us a call. The number is 928-499-3080, and one of our helpful front desk staff will be happy to answer any question you may have.
Perfect. Lance, any parting comments before we land this podcast?
All I've got to say is I've grown up around airplanes, and flying and being a pilot has changed my life. I joke about it in some ways that a drug addiction might be cheaper, but it does totally change your life. You see the world from a totally different perspective. The other thing I think it does is it does make you a better driver too.
Oh, okay.
I was a pilot as a very young man, and well, let's just say I did not have as many run-ins with either the law or other objects in driving a car that many of my compatriots did at that age. Your situational awareness, the habits you develop as a pilot in the cockpit, translate very well to driving a car. The scan you develop to maintain control of the aircraft, you just almost instinctively use the same scan as you're driving the car. You don't fixate on the gauges. You don't fixate on the moving map. You're continually watching and just occasionally scanning the panel for information you need. And that's one of the things that gets taught as a pilot. And it applies to a lot of other things in real life as well. Many pilots are also sailors, boaters of varying kinds, either powerboat or sailboat. Actually, a lot of them are in the sailing community. And the skills you learn as a pilot translate back and forth to sailboats very well. So it's a change your life. Yeah. It really does.
It's a great way to travel for sure. And like you said, when you're up in the clouds, you get that sense of calm.
Well, the sense of calm is very much there. It's just you and the aircraft. Mm-hmm. But the other thing that is really empowering is a sense of freedom. I mean, literally, you are free to go almost anywhere. And that is one of the freedoms that we really do have in this country. If you're a pilot, you can go to almost every airport in this country. There is nothing stopping you to decide, let's say I want to get up this morning and go up to, Kingman. Kingman Airport has a wonderful little cafe that does wonderful breakfast. Let's say I want to just get a wild hair and want to go up to Kingman for breakfast. I have the freedom to do it.
Yep.
It is a lifestyle, and it is life altering. It has been for me.
That's incredible. Well, Lance, thank you for joining us today. Leighnor Aircraft folks, get you up and flying in 2 months' time, right?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
Thank you for having me, Steve. I've really enjoyed our conversation today.
Me as well. I as well. Folks, until next time, I'm Steve Bracety here with PV Talks. Continue to stay inspired and shop local.